Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees and pranams. Thank you very much for joining in for our Ramayana study session today. Let's start with prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapatakamelam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Namom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Taralaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam Paramanandamadavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tatsat. Hare Krishna, dear devotees and pranams. So we are on Aranya Kand of Ramayana, wherein we find that Sita, Ram and Lakshman are now in Chitrakoot, right? After having sent back the Ayodhya by leaving at midnight, then they meet sage Bharadwaj, who's serving Lord Ram, and then they meet Valmiki Rishi, and we were talking about how the association of a devotee can transform a person, right? How he was earlier a hunter who was killing animals, and later on he became the great Valmiki Muni, who was given the service of writing the entire Ramayana, like that. Yeah. So sadhu sanga sarva sastra koya lava matra sadhu sanga sarva siddhi hoya, right? So he got the association of Narada Muni, and Narada Muni, whenever one has an audience with Narada Muni, one can be rest assured that one's heart is getting purified, and one will ultimately start performing devotional service by the causeless mercy of Narada Muni, like that. And then we also spoke about whatever be the modes of nature, right? We are situated, and we may be very passionate, want to get a lot of things done. We may be very tamasic, always sleeping all the time, or we may be in the sattva guna, right? Being satisfied with everything that we have, but we should not deter any particular mode to become so prominent that we remain there, right? We want to reach Shuddha Sattva platform. We want to go back home, back to Godhead. We want to attain Krishna Prema. We want to reawaken our love for Krishna. So all the other modes of nature are apparently an impediment, right? Sattva is by far the highest level from where you can jump into Shuddha Sattva platform very easily. But then even there we should not get stuck, right? We don't want to get stuck by being happy in this world, right? That is the greatest misfortune, because we'll be continuously be born in a Brahminical family. But that's not what we desire. That's not our desired goal. So like that, we saw that the association of devotees, what we studied that, right? Sadhu Sangha, Nama Kirtana, Bhagavata Shravana, Mathuravasa, Srimurtaya, Shraddhaya Sevana. So if you are situated in Sattva, very nice. We should engage in these 5 prominent angas of bhakti as given by Rupa Goswami, and in this way get the right intelligence to perform our Swadharma and Sanatana Dharma in a way that's pleasing Guru and Gauranga, right? And then we also saw that Lord Ram is asking Lakshman to go back, and Lakshman is also saying that, everything is well taken care of at Ayodhya, right? And when Sumantra goes back, then Dasharath Maharaj asks how are Rama, Lakshmana and Sita. So we also saw how Sumantra in a very nice way, just like Vidura did not inform about Krishna's departure to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Similarly, Sumatra also told in a very nice way what Rama told. Rama told that we should make Bharat the king very soon, so that the entire Ayodhya will be benefited by the rule of Bharat, and also to take care of his mothers, especially Kaushalya and Sumitra. So in that way, we ended yesterday, right? Everybody was, whether or not they liked it or not, whether it was a situation that they expected or not, everybody is performing their duty. Right? Sumatra wanted to stay with Ram, Ayodhya Vasis wanted to stay with Ram, but ultimately everybody went ahead performing their duties in service to the Lord, in service to Guru and Gauranga, irrespective of whether they were feeling happy about it or they were feeling sad about it, like that. Yeah. So let's continue reading. Now Dasharatha and Sumatra is coming and telling about various things that are happening. Once he left Lord Ram, Lakshmana and Sita in the forest. Of course, it's not a very nice place to be. So of course, Kaushalya Mata is feeling very, very sad that Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana have to undergo this, and she also gets a little bit emotional, and she tells Dasharath Maharaj, why did you have to give this boon to Kaikeyi, and you are the king, but you are so helpless. So like that, she also gets gets very emotional. And then, but then we are people with emotions, right? We also have emotions, but we should ensure that such emotional attitude does not prevent us from performing dharma. Otherwise, we are emotional people. We want to develop our emotion of loving devotional service to Lord Shri Krishna. We don't want our heart to become like stone-hearted, right? And even if our heart is stone, is like stone. Pashupaki, what is that? Pashupaki jure pashana vidhare suni jara guna gata. So even if our heart is like stone, simply by hearing the pastimes of Lord Ram, Radha Krishna, and all of the incarnations of the Lord, Vishnu Tattva, what do? Even the stone-hearted person's heart will melt. Shuni Jara Guna Gatha. When we hear the glories, the Nama Rupa Guna Leela of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's why we are studying Ramayana. Our heart is also like stone, right? But then, by simply hearing the pastimes of Lord Ram, we will be able to reawaken our love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like that. Okay. So, Kaushalya, after blaming a little bit of Dasharath Maharaj because of her anxiety, is now stopped speaking. And then what is going to happen next is what we're going to read now. Our Katpagoli Mataji, please read. Hari Bol. Mataji, please unmute. Hari Bol.
Yes, Mataji. Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna Tandatma Mataji. Kaushalya stopped speaking and began to sob uncontrollably. Dasarada, already deeply remorseful, felt even more anguish upon hearing his wife's words. Crying out, "O Rama," again and again, he said, disconsolate. With great difficulty, he gathered his senses and went before Kausalya with folded hands. Speaking in a trembling voice, his head hanging down, "Be kind to me, O godly lady. You are merciful even to your enemies. What then to speak of me? The husband is always the Lord for the wife in good or evil times. Seeing me to be sorely pained, you should not increase my grief by such harsh words." Kausalya immediately felt sorry. She took Dasarada's hands and folded them around her neck. Kneeling before him and weeping, she spoke hurriedly through her confusion. "Now I am surely ruined for having spoken words disagreeable to my husband. I deserve to be punished by you, who I know to be always truthful. She is a wicked and low-born woman who must be besieged by her worthy and virtuous husband." Kausalya was afflicted by many strong feelings, and her mind became completely distracted. Her grief, despair, and anger at losing Rama were now compounded by remorse and guilt at having upset Dasarada. She had spoken in an almost hysterical manner. "Pray forgive me, O great king. Overcome by grief, I uttered unseemly words. Grief destroys patience, eradicates knowledge, and confounds the senses. Indeed, there is no enemy like grief. Even a great blow from an enemy can be endured, but the smallest amount of grief is intolerable. The 5 nights that Rama had been gone seemed to me like 5 years. Even as I remember Rama, again my grief grows like the ocean receiving the rapid flow of many large rivers. As Kaushalya was speaking, the sun set. Uh, Dasratha, being comforted by his wife, fell into a fitful slumber for an hour. Upon waking, he sat saying and recalled something he had done when he was a young prince. Realizing the long past deed to be the cause of his present suffering, Dasratha related it to Kausalya. Without doubt, the person receives the results of his own action, good or bad, or gracious being. The queen said, "He who acts without consideration of the results, both immediate and long term, is surely a fool. If a man cuts down a mango grove because the tree has have unattractive blossom, planting instead the brightly flowering palasa trees, he will later lament when the bitter fruits of the palasa appear. By sending Rama away, I have indeed cut down a mango grove just as it is was about to bear fruit. Now I am tasting the bitter palasa." Dasada felt as if it was as if his art might work. He maintained his composure with a great effort and continued. A long time ago, as a youth, and before we were married, I went to the forest to hunt. I had acquired great skills at bowmanship and then could easily hit even invisible target by sound alone. Little did I know about this skill of mine, of which I was so proud. It would yield such a disastrous result. It was a rainy season. Rivers were swollen. Going out at night and going out at night on my chariot, I made my way to Sarayu. I waited there in the darkness by the river bank for a buffalo or an elephant to come by. Soon I heard the sound of gurgling at a point nearby. Although I could not see what caused the sound, thinking the sound to be that of an animal drinking, I took out an arrow and released it. From the quarter where I shot my snake-like arrow, there came a loud wail of some forest dweller. In indistinct and painful tones, I heard the following cry: "How has this weapon fallen upon a harmless aesthetic like myself, to whom have I given my offense? I am a simple seed who has forsworn violence and lives only on fruits and roots. Oh, I am killed. What foolish person has hurled this arrow? This act will result only in evil. I do not grieve so much for myself, but for my aged and helpless parents. Without me, their sole support, how will they survive? With a single arrow, some ignorant fool of uncontrolled mind has killed me and both my parents." Weeping all while Dasratha continued, "When I heard that plainful shout, I was mortified. My bows and arrows fell down from my hand. I was all but overwhelmed with grief and dropped to the ground, almost losing my senses. I scrambled down toward the source of the voice, with my mind utterly perplexed. There, lying on the bank of the river, was an ascetic wearing uh,
Ascetic.
ascetic 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 wearing tea-bug garments. My arrow was protruding from his chest, smeared with dust and blood, with the thick mass of matted hair in disarray. He lay groaning. He had come for water, and the sound I had heard was the gurgling of his pitcher, which lay nearby with its water ran out. Seeing me to be the royalty, Aesthetic looked up at me with bloodshot eyes and spoke angrily. "What wrong I have done, O king, and that I should receive this terrible punishment? I came here to fetch water for my blind parents. Even though as I lie here dying, my poor father must be wondering where I am. But what can he do? He is old and feeble and cannot even move. He can no more help me that could any tree help another, which was about to be hewn down. Seek his forgiveness, O king. You should quickly make your way along this path where he awaits. Where he waits. Dasratha's grief for Rama was compounded by the grief caused by the remembering his long past unfortunate incident. With difficulty, he continued to speak. The young hermit, writing in agony, asked me to extract the arrow. I hesitated, knowing that the instant the arrow was removed, he would die. The boy assured me, telling me that he was preparing for that. I just pulled out the arrow, looking at me in dismay due to anxiety about his parents. The boy died, uttering the name of Vishnu. Seeing the ascetic lying dead, killed by me out of ignorance and folly, I wondered how I could make amends. I quickly filled his picture and followed the pathway he had shown me towards his parents. As I reached the hermitage, I saw his aged and blind parents sitting sitting for long like a pair of birds whose wings have been clipped. When he heard me approach, the boy's father said, "Do not delay, my son. Bring the water immediately. Your poor mother is anxiety because you have been floating in the water for a long time. Our lives depend on you, my dear child. You are our only support, and indeed our very eyes. Where are you? Why do you not speak?" I was gripped
Hare
by
Krishna.
fear.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank,
Hari bol. Dandat
thank you,
pranam.
thank you, thank you.
So this is, very very hard hitting incident actually, right? Why? Because we also do so many things which we don't intend to do, right? We don't intend to harm others. We don't intend to have any kind of bad intent. but the but the world is such, the material world is such, that we are prone to making mistakes. We are prone to cheat. We are prone to illusion. Right? We think this is the body, and I am what this, aham mameti, right? I am this body, and whatever is related to my body is mine, like that, right? And we also have imperfect senses, right? So because of all these things, right, even Dasharath Maharaj in his previous life, no, not in his previous life, when he was a small boy, right? He is saying some a couple of years back, right, when he was gone on hunting, right? He just he happened to kill, right? I think his name is Shravan Kumar, right? So he had his parents could not, they were blind, they could not go anywhere. The only shelter was this boy whom Dashrath Maharaj had killed inadvertently, right? But the laws of karma, the windmills of God, they say, right, grinds slow but sure, right? Whatever we sinful reactions we do, or whatever trouble we give others, right, slowly but gradually but surely, right, Chitragupta makes a proper note of everything, right? And even unintentionally if you've done, those also will come back to us. And even as devotees, we also know, even if we do some pious activities, it is going to come back to us, which means what? We have to enjoy the reactions of those pious activities, which a devotee does not want to do, because whether it is to suffer or to enjoy does not really matter. Because if you have to enjoy also, you have to come back to this material world. If you have to suffer the reactions, sinful reactions of our activities also, you have to come back to this material world. That is why a devotee tries to do a karma. That means whatever I do, manasa deho geho jo kichumor arpilu tuapade Nanda Kishore, right? Whatever I do, whatever I think, whatever I action, right? I want to simply do it for the pleasure of the Lord, so that I'm not bound by the three modes of material nature. I'm not bound by the reactions of my activity that will force me to take another material body, which may be either to suffer, or which may be either to enjoy the results of my pious activities, right? So Dasharath Maharaj is now remembering, oh, I did that, I caused that grief to that father and mother, and also to that particular young boy who died just because of my mistake, right? So now Dasharath Maharaj is thinking, this karmic reaction is only now coming back to me. The two old people, the father and the mother, they were separated from their son because of me. Now I am getting the reaction of that, and now I am separated from my son, like that. So the laws of karma will work, right? And Krishna does not interfere with the law of karma. And what does Krishna do? If we are devotees of the Lord, if we are chanting Hare Krishna, then Krishna will give us intelligence to give a right response, right? So whatever reactions may come, right, one thing is that reaction itself will be minimized. If you're supposed to get 100% reactions to our activities, right, our sinful activities, right, then Krishna might reduce it, will reduce it to say 0.0001%. And why do we have to undergo this little bit? Because you have to, that will be our purification. And how we respond to it, Krishna's mercy will be shown by Krishna, how Krishna is giving us intelligence for us to continue bhakti irrespective of all these adverse situations, right? Adverse situations will come in the material world, and by surrendering to the Lord, we are developing that intelligence, that wisdom. How should I respond to this particular situation so that I don't continue to entangle myself in this material world, but I go back home, back to Godhead? Then that way, Krishna will help us. It's not that Krishna will remove all the obstacles, right? What does Krishna say? Mam anusmara yudhyacha. You perform your duty, which for Arjuna was fighting, the yuddha. But for us, it is to perform our swadharma, whether we are a man or a woman or a husband or a wife or a mother or a father or a grandmother or a wife or a daughter-in-law or a son-in-law, whatever may be, our swadharma. As we are doing our swadharma, we need to fight this battle every day in this material world. That's why we put the armor in the morning. There we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So that the remaining 22 hours of our activities, we are dedicating to the mercy of the Lord. We are dedicating, surrendering to the Lord to give us right intelligence. Let me go through all the situations that I have to go through because of my past karmas, but give me the intelligence, oh Krishna, that let me do it as a service to you. Let me continue my dharma while being grateful to you for everything, because the Lord is our ultimate protector, is our ultimate guide, and is our ultimate friend. So like that. So Dasharath Maharaj is now, is recollecting those times of the past, and he thinks maybe because of that grief that I caused to those parents of Shravan Kumar, or the boy whom I inadvertently killed, because of that, I'm getting the sinful reactions like that. Okay, let's go ahead. What is he saying now? Deval Mataji, and then Shobha Mataji, Leela Nandini Mataji, and Sudha Mataji. All right. Quickly, let's go ahead. I was gripped by fear. Deval Mataji, you there?
Yes. Hare
Yes.
Krishna Mataji.
Yes.
I was gripped by fear to behold the sage, and I replied to him in a faltering voice, O holy sage, I am not your son, but a prince named Dashratha. I have committed a most terrible and evil act out of sheer folly. Hearing your son collecting water, I mistook him for a beast drinking. I released a deadly arrow and killed the boy. As a result of my rash act, your son has ascended to heaven, leaving you here. Please tell me what I should do now. Sorry. When he heard my story, the sage, though rich in ascetic power and thereby capable of burning me with a curse, restrained himself, sighing in sorrow with his face bathed in tears. That old rishi, who appeared exceptionally glorious, said to me, Had you not come here and confessed, then as soon as the news of my boy's death reached me, your head would have been split into 100 pieces by my anger. Indeed, if one consciously kills a hermit engaged in austerity, then death is the immediate result. You are only surviving now as you perform this deed in ignorance. The sage asked me to take him to the place where his son lay. I immediately lifted both of the elderly ascetics on my two arms and carried them to the river bank. Being placed near the dead boy, they cried out in agony and gently stroked his face. The sage said, why do you not greet us today, dearest child? Why are you lying here upon the ground? Have you become displeased with us? Here is your beloved mother. Why do you not embrace her? My tender son, please speak to us, whose heart-moving voice will we now hear beautifully reciting the holy Vedic text. Who now will tend the sacred fire? Who will comfort us with consoling words, deprived as we are now of our only support? My son, how will I be able to support your old mother? The sage sat weeping for some time, lost in grief, holding his son's head. He said, Pray wait a while, dear boy, and do not yet proceed to Yamra's abode. I shall go with you and speak to the god on your behalf, saying, Although my son has been killed as a result of some former sin, he has in fact become sinless. Therefore grant to him those regions which are attainable only by Brahmins, perfect in asceticism and study of scripture, or by heroes who drop their body while fighting fearlessly for the good of the people. Wailing piteously, the ascetic and his wife offered sanctified water to their dead son with mantras and prayers. I then saw the boy appear in an ethereal form along with Indra, the king of heaven. He gently consoled his parents, saying that he had achieved his exalted status as a result of his service to them. He said they would soon join him in heaven. The boy then left, seated next to Indra in a shining celestial car. At that time, the sage said to me, In order to release you from the terrible sin of killing an ascetic, which can drag even the gods down to hell, I shall pronounce upon you a painful curse. Just as I am dying now in the agony of separation from my son, so in the future shall you die in the grief of separation from your son. After saying this, the sage had me light a fire and place upon it his son's body. Along with his wife, he then entered the fire. The two ascetics gave up their bodies and went to heaven, leaving me stunned and pondering the sage's words. Dashratha was suddenly afraid as he realized that, in accord with the sage's infallible curse, his death was now near. Controlling his mind, he called out for Kaushalya, His eyes were blinded with tears, and his body was trembling. He said to his wife, "That curse uttered so long ago by the sage is now coming to pass. I shall soon die of grief. Come here, Kaushalya, for I cannot see you clearly. Men on the threshold of death have all their senses confounded." Kaushalya sat close to her husband and comforted him with soft words. Dasharatha became deeply absorbed in remembrance of Ram. He longed for one last sight of him. He felt anguished and remorseful, wishing he had somehow been able to stop Ram from leaving. The king lay back upon the couch and spoke in a trembling voice. "This grief is drying up my vitality, even as the blazing summer sun sucks out the earth's moisture. Blessed are they who will see the pious and handsome Ram return 14 years from now. I can no longer see or hear anything. All my senses are failing, along with my mind, just as the bright rays of a lamp disappear when its oil has run out. This grief, born of my own self, is rendering me helpless and unconscious, just as the current of a swift river wears away its own bank. O Ram, relieving of my suffering, are you really gone? O Kaushalya, my dear wife, O Sumitra, pious lady, O Kaikeyi, my sworn enemy and disgrace of my family." Dasharatha lamented and tossed about in agony for some time. Gradually, he became silent. His
Thank
mixed
you, Mataji. Hare
mind
Krishna.
fixed. Hare Krishna. Oh, Mother, there's only
Hare.
2 lines left. Should I just finish it of the chapter?
Okay. Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
sorry.
Let me
Okay.
share my screen
So yeah,
again. Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Yeah. Dasharatha lamented and tossed about in agony for some time. Gradually, he became silent, his mind fixed up only upon Ram. Stricken with the intolerable pain of separation, the great emperor gave up his life during the night and ascended to the highest abode of the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Then thank you, Dharot Pranam.
Thank you. Dandat pranam. Antakale च मामेव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरं यप्रयाति समद्भावं याति नाति atra samshayah. Right? So we see here Dashrath Maharaj, although it seems apparent, it seems like, he is actually getting the reaction of the curse, that was pronounced by the parents of that boy whom Dashrath Maharaj had killed by an accident. Right? Ultimately, what is the benediction? Greatest benediction is whenever we die, the death is inevitable, right? Some or the other, someday or the other, we all have to die. But the greatest benediction or the greatest blessing is that we should be able to remember the Lord at the time of death, isn't it? So even that boy also, he chanted the name of Vishnu. And then we see here also Dashrath Maharaj was focusing his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ram, right? So in this way, this seems like an apparent tragedy that has happened where Dashrath Maharaj is now, because of the reaction of the mistake that he did, he died and everything, right? So it's a death will come any day, right? But Dashrath Maharaj has been successful. Why? Because at the time of death, whom did he remember? He remembered the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ram. So like that, we can also learn a lesson from here. That in life we also commit a lot of mistakes, right? Because of the nature of this material world, and because of prayan alpa yusha sabya kalavasmin yugejana manda sumanda matayo manda bhagya upadrata, right? That was Treta Yuga, but now in Kali Yuga, we are prone to make more mistakes, we are prone to be more illusioned, we are prone to be manda sumanda matayo, always quarrelsome, always lazy, always misguided, always having this cheating propensity, everything, right? Because of that, we will definitely incur sinful reactions, right? Maybe we will incur 0.0001% because of the mercy of Guru and Gauranga. But then when we go through that, we should know that it is for my purification. And if I respond in this situation in the right manner, with the right attitude, I'm going to become more dearer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. So in that way, we see here Dashrath Maharaj passes away remembering Lord Ram. And that is the success of the human form of life. All right, so let's go on to the next chapter. Now, who returns? Bharat returns. And then let's see what Bharat has to say after hearing about Lord Ram's exile. Right? Bharat had gone, we had studied earlier. Bharat and Shatrughan had gone to his father-in-law's place. Right? Because, they got married, and Bharat and Shatrughan went to Kushadwaja's kingdom, right? Whose daughters Bharat and Shatrughan married, isn't it? So now Bharat gets to know what is happening, and then he's now coming back. Let's see what is he saying. Okay, Shobha Mataji, go ahead, and then Leelanandini Mataji, and then Sudha Mataji. Yes, quickly.
Jai Shri Ram. Dandot Pranam Mataji, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Chapter 3, Bharata's return. The following morning, large number of singers and bards assembled at the palace with the intention of waking the king. They stood near his quarters and began their recitations, praising the emperor and telling of his ancestors' glorious deeds. Holy Brahmins chanted sacred texts while expert musicians played on various instruments. Those chants and songs mixed with the singing of the birds on the palace trees and created an exquisitely beautiful song. The palace attendants, unaware of the king's demise, gathered together the items required for his morning ablutions. Gold pots filled with scented water, along with many soaps and ungu- unguents were fetched. In accord with the Vedic tradition, young virgin girls, along with milk cows and other pure items like gold and silver, were brought before the king, so that he would see these immediately upon waking, thereby creating an auspicious start of the day. When everything was made ready just before sunrise, the royal ladies went to the king's chamber to wake him. As they approached his bed, they saw him lying motionless and showing no symptoms of life. Nearby, Kaushalya and Sumitra were lying asleep, exhausted from grief. Their faces were tear streaked and withered like lotus scorched by sun. The palace ladies fell back in alarm and began to shake like reeds in the stream. They touched the king's body and finding him cold and lifeless, realizing he had died from the grief. All those beautiful women began to wail loudly like a herd of female elephants who have lost their lord in the forest. Kaushalya and Sumitra were roused by the sound, looking at the emperor and touching him. They cried out, "My lord," and dropped to the ground. Kaikeyi ran into the room and she too began, afflicted by pain and sorrow. Falling down unconscious, the three queens tossed about on the ground, lamenting loudly. They appeared like three goddesses fallen from the heaven, deprived of their splendor. The whole chamber became crowded with men and women, all alarmed, blasting their excitedly excitedly. With the sudden death of the king, everyone became perplexed and confused. Loud cries filled the air. The king's 300 maidservants surrounded him on all sides, weeping piteously. Kausalya looked at her husband's face, which seemed like the sun shone of its luster. Kneelingly by his side, she held his head and began to loudly reprimand Kaikeyi. "Oh, cruel Kaikeyi, are you now satisfied? Having killed the king, you may now enjoy the throne without fear. Rama has forsaken me and gone to the forest, and now my husband has ascended to heaven. I cannot live any longer." Only Kaikeyi, casting all proprietary to the winds, could live happily after seeing her husband die in agony. "O cruel lady, you have destroyed our noble race." Kaushalya embraced her dead husband. She thought of Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana. How would they learn of their father's death? What will they do when they hear of it? Even now, poor Sita must be clinging fearfully to Rama, terrified by the sight and sound of the forest. If this painful news should reach her, surely she will die. Kausalya could not tolerate any more grief. Tearful with, she cried out to Kaikeyi, "You have killed me as surely as you have killed the king. I shall enter the fire clinging to my lord's body." With
Hare Krishna.
difficulty,
Thank
the
you,
king's
Mataji.
minister, Haribol,
Yeah,
thank you, Mataji, Dandavats.
thank you. Nandini Mataji, please continue reading. And then Sudha Mataji. Yes. Nandini Mataji, are there?
Yeah, I am there, Mataji.
Yes, yes.
Kaushalya embraced.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna,
difficulty,
Mataji, Dandat Pranam. Hare
Dandavat
Krishna.
from here. With difficulty, the king's ministers from here.
With difficulty, the king's ministers separated Kaushalya from Dasharatha. They gently removed her from his chamber and began to perform the necessary rituals for the death of a king. As none of the Dasharatha's sons were present, they could not perform his funeral. Dasharatha's sons were present, they could not perform. Therefore, in order to preserve the body until Bharata arrived, they immersed it in a vat of fragrant oil. The city of Ayodhya, already plunged in sorrow, became even more desolate. The people cried out the distress, and everything remained still. No one going out for any business. The great city looked like a dark night bereft of the moon and stars, loudly reproaching Kaikai in choked voices. The citizens grieved throughout the day and night, finding no rest. The following day, the king's Brahmin counselors assembled together. Looking towards Vasishta, who was temporarily carrying out the king's duties, the wise sages made different speeches pointing to the need for a prince to be quickly coronated. The sages described how, without a ruler, the kingdom would soon meet with ruin. In a land without a king, even the rain would not fall in proper time and the crops would fail. Sons would disobey their fathers and wives their husbands. There could be no personal property without a protector, and men could not sleep in peace. Everything would become chaotic and anarchy would soon prevail. Like fishes, men would devour one another. Atheism would become prominent, and godless and misbehaved men would become leaders. One of the chief Brahmins concluded, even as the eyes protect the body, so the king is ever vigilant to protect the people. The king is truthfulness and virtue incarnate. He is the mother and the father of the best benefactor of all men. All the principal gods reside in the body of the king. Indeed, he is the powerful representative of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Therefore, O Vashishta, have Bharata and Shatrughna brought home. Quickly crown a qualified man as a king before his ancient and prosperous kingdoms thrown into utter confusion and darkness. When the
Hare
Brahmin
Krishna.
sages, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Dharat Pranam. So we
Thank
see here, yad yad acharati shreshtas tattat evejaro jana sayat pramanam kurute lokastat anuvartate. Even when Lord Shri Krishna appeared in the Yadu dynasty, right? Even Krishna followed those the duty of a king, right? In Dwaraka, when he was ruling, he was also performing the duties of a king. Well, there is no duty that the Lord needs to perform. But when the Lord, even he becomes a king, right? Or anybody when they're in a responsible position, whether of a husband or of a mother or of a father or of a guru, whatever may be, right? The duty of such a person is so important. That person should be able to liberate those who are dependent on him or her, right? Na guru na sasyat, na janani na sasyat, na pita na sasyat, right? So unless you're able to deliver your dependence from the clutches of birth and death, one should not become a father or a mother or a guru or any responsible position as a leader. One should not become a leader typically, if one is not able to deliver, because the role of a king or a leader or a father or a mother or a counselor or a leader is to not only give physical protection. Of course, the Kshatriyas as kings, they provided physical protection, but also provide them with the knowledge or with the jnana or with the Vedic scriptural knowledge, which will enable that person to go back to Godhead. That is the ultimate protection that we can give, right? Otherwise, physical protection of the body is not the only responsibility of parents. As parents, we have a responsibility to give the required knowledge or give the shastric injunctions to our children and be a good example to them, so that they would also like to take up this process, right? Of course, everybody has their free will. Krishna does not interfere with our free will, so we're not interfering with their free will, but we are giving them all the opportunity, the surrounding, the environment that will enable them to practice Krishna consciousness. And in this way, our duty as a mother or a father or a guru becomes complete. So like that, here also, that it's also very important that the role of a mother and father is actually played by the king, because the king protects all the citizens, just like Parikshit Maharaj ruled very nicely. And even today, people speak of Ramarajya. Ramarajya means there is nothing that can go wrong when there is a proper king. Even rains, like it's mentioned here, even rains come to that particular place where there is peace and prosperity that's prevailing because of good administration by the king, who is a representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All right. So, Sudha Mataji, go ahead. Last two paragraphs you can read and then we'll end. Mataji, please unmute, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
When the Brahmin sages had finished speaking, they sat awaiting Vashishta's opinion. Vashishta looked around the assembly and replied, "We should immediately send swift messengers to the Kekeya capital, Girivraja. Since the emperor was bestowed this kingdom upon Bharata, sorry, Mata. He must be brought here as quickly as possible and installed as king. No other course of action can be considered." Vashishta wanted Bharata to be brought home before the news of his father's death and Rama's exile reached him. Bharata should be informed of the heartbreaking news while surrounded by his intimate family. Vashishta said to the messengers, "Tell the prince that all is well. but that he is required for some urgent business. Take with you excellent gifts for the Kekia king and leave at once. The messengers mounted upon the best of the king's horses, which were capable of covering hundreds of miles a day, and sped westwards towards Girivaraja. They took the shortest possible route they took the shortest possible route, at times leaving the road and traversing open countryside and woods. They crossed the Malini River, which flowed between the Aparatala and Pralamba mountains, and also the Ganges, where it flowed through Hastinapura. Moving quickly through the Panchal and Kuru Jangala provinces, the messengers reached the Sharadanda river at the end of the second day. After crossing that river, they entered the city of Kulinga, hardly pausing for a moment. Galloping together, they passed through the city and soon crossed the Ikshkumati River, then the Bees and Salmali rivers, finally arriving at the Kekaya district at the end of the third day. With their horses all but exhausted, they entered the city of Girivraja and went straight toward the king's palace just as dawn approached. In his palace, Bharata had just risen and was feeling disturbed. He had awoken from a dream filled with inauspicious omens. He sat alone, sunk in thought. Some of his friends approached him and inquired why he looked so sad. Bharata replied, in a dream, I saw my father looking dejected, falling from the peak of a mountain into a filthy pool. He seemed to be laughing and he swam around in that pool. I then saw the ocean dry, the moon fallen upon the earth, and the entire world assailed by demons. My father, dressed in black, wearing a crimson garland and smeared with red sandal paste, got upon a chariot drawn by donkeys and rode southwards. Bharata knew this. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Mataji, you are on mute, Mataji.
Krishna. Yes, thank you. So we see here that Bharata has already saw ill omens, right? We also sometimes have this twitching of the eyes, and we also see that okay, something bad is going to happen. Whenever we get such kind of intuitions, then what we should do, we should surrender to the Lord immediately. Oh Krishna, whatever is yet to come, something seems to be going bad. I want to surrender to you, and then we can chant more rounds of Hare Krishna, because we don't want miserable situations to go out of our life, because that is not something that can happen, right? Because this world is dukhalayam, dukha will definitely come, but we can pray whenever such omens come in our life. Also, maybe we have bad dreams or some twitching of the eye or whatever, and we see that okay, something is going to go wrong, like that, then immediately we surrender to the Lord, asking for the strength to go through that situation in a way that's pleasing to the Lord. We respond to that situation in a way that's pleasing to the Lord, so that the situation helps us to grow and evolve as better devotees, right? So in that way, we see here Bharat Maharaj already got a kind of intuition, and now Bharat Maharaj will be told all the news when he reaches back to Ayodhya, and then we all know the past times. So we'll continue reading on Wednesday. Next Wednesday we'll continue reading. Of course, on Monday we'll continue with Srimad Bhagavatam. Grantraj Shri Ramayana ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki jai. If my devotees can switch on your cameras, we'll quickly do 2 minutes Harinam Sankirtan, we'll end. Raghupati Raghav Raja Ram Patita Pavan Sita Ram Sita Ram Jaya Sita Ram Sita Ram Jaya Sita Ram Raghupati Raghav Raja Ram Patita Pavan Sita Ram Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jai Jagannath Jaya Jai Jagannath Jai Balodeva Jaya Subhadra Jai Subhadra Jai Jai Sudarshan Jaya Bala Gopal Jaya Rukmini Vithal Jaya Prahlad Narsingha Jaya Lakshmi Narsingha Jaya Radha Madhav Radha Shama Sundar Radha Gopinath Shri Radhe Jaya Shadgo Swami Jaya Guru Parampara Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari bol, Hari bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol. सीताराम लक्ष्मण शत्रुघ्न हनुमान जी की जय। जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्री गुरुदेव की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद श्री गुरुदेव की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा। So thank you very much, dear devotees. Dandavat pranams. Thank you, Shobha Mataji, Archana Shri Radha Mataji, Amritmayi Mataji, Leela Nandini Mataji. Thank you joining us a long time. Hope your health is okay now. Hare Krishna. Karpavali Mataji, thank you. Anusha Mataji, thank you. Vijayalakshmi Priya Mataji, thank you very much. I don't know how late it is. My sincere gratitude to you for joining in. Sarva Gopeshwari Mataji, thank you. Deval Mataji, Srimati Shama Priya Mataji. Vandana Pathani Mataji maybe has joined us for the first time today. Thank you, Mataji. You can ping me if you like, or if you can switch on your camera also, it'll be nice, but it's okay. Chitra Krishna Sevini Mataji, Sudha Mataji. Thank you all very much. We'll meet tomorrow morning, 4:30 a.m. for our Brahma Murta chanting session. And then Saturday, tomorrow is Saturday, so morning tomorrow and day after, we will meet for the Brahma Murta chanting session. Monday, we'll meet again for Brahma Murta chanting, and then we'll continue with Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you all for joining in. Okay, Vandana Pathani Mataji, thank you so much. Dandavat pranams to you also. Please write to me on this number if it is okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Nitai Gaur